Hey, this is Dirk Nowitzki, and you're listening to the Mavs Step Back podcast.
I like this, TK. I like that. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk get the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Luka with the ball, yeah, get nasty. He'll drop 30, don't gotta ask him.
Luka with the step back three. Oh, yeah! Porzingis three-pointer, yes, sir. Taking the three after the pump fake, and it's money for Porzingis.
Now you got my boy Chris Stabs, looking like Dirk and Nash in the gap. They just want a ring, wanna fill the gap on your team head. I ain't talking hats, dang, go relax. Still at the champs, defense still coming with the cannabis flow. The man's the best on the flow. I'm wild.
All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of the Mavs Step Back podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined as always by my Sports Illustrated Dallas basketball colleague, Matt Galatson. This is an instant reaction pod. Matt, we just had our heart rates go up a good bit. The Mavs, they barely squeaked by the Orlando Magic, 107-106 on Seats for Soldiers Night. And I don't know, Matt. I'm glad they got the win. You know what they say, a win is a win is a win. But I don't know. I didn't feel great after that. I mean, Luka, he did his thing. The bench, they did their thing. KP struggled. I mean, just quick initial thoughts coming off of that 1-point win.
This team is not as good as we think it is based on the record. That's my initial thought, and I think a lot of it has to do with they played down to their competition. You mentioned it before we got on the air. It's very frustrating to watch because they play Cleveland the other night and it's a close game really until the fourth quarter. It shouldn't have been a close game. Yeah. And tonight was the same thing. And then they take the Lakers to overtime. They take Portland, to 1 point or whatever it was. So
and I mean if we're being honest too, I said they play down to their competition, but they play up to their competition too, and they really should have won that Lakers game. I mean, I know we're all kind of homers, but that Lakers game, it definitely shouldn't have even gotten to overtime. Dwight Howard, he held Seth Curry. That should have been an offensive foul. Mavs get the ball with, a little over a second left. That should have absolutely been a win for the Mavs. Now, the Portland loss, that was mostly self-inflicted wounds. They didn't make their free throws, and all those Portland games are crazy, and I kind of expected that going in. But anyway, I mean, what I'm saying is...
But that's what we're talking about.
Huh?
That's what we're talking about. Is they make mistakes and they don't, they're not totally focused in games like this or in big moments, and it's, theoretically they should be undefeated.
Which is why I kind of disagree with your point about they're not as good as we think they are, because like they're playing, this is like the second or third game where we have been kind of frustrated, or the second or third game that they've won, that we've been kind of frustrated at how they've played, and they've still managed to squeak out a win. So, I mean, you have to figure that, once Porzingis gets his act together, this is going to be a completely different animal. Because the bench, I mean, they've already got the chemistry going. They're all scoring. You got 4, 5, 6 players scoring in double figures on a nightly basis. They're lifting up the starters right now. Once KP gets going and the starters get in a rhythm, I think this is, going to end up being a really, really good season for the Mavs. They're going through some growing pains right now. It's painful to watch, but, I mean, you look around the league at how some of these other teams have started. 5-2, I'd take that. And if you look at the schedule coming up immediately, they got the Knicks on Friday. Then they got the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday. I mean, they can add a couple more to this record early on that'll help them, later this season as they try to make the playoffs.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, those sound like, to me, based on what I've seen tonight and then against Cleveland, that those are going to be close games.
I mean, probably so, but if they keep winning more of them than they don't, then I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, the clutch games, if they can win these clutch games, that's great.
Yeah, but eventually, making mistakes down the stretch and Seth Curry missing 2 free throws and things like that.
Yeah.
And Dorian's late turnover. Those are the kinds of things that are going to come back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound like a downer, because they are 5-2 and it's great and it's more than I expected, based off the way they started the last couple of years. But it's just, I guess why I'm frustrated is because my expectations were so high, and it's difficult to watch them do so many frustrating things that, frankly, should be easily avoidable.
Well, look, here's the thing. The Magic were averaging 93 points per game going into this one. And you had to figure that something was going to give, when they played the Mavs. That's usually how it goes. Everybody was talking about that before the game. And I think, even Bobby Corrala tweeted something about how they were, last offensively in the league. And then he was like, oh, well, prepare for a 30-point first quarter from the Magic. And sure enough, they went out and scored 28. So that just, I don't know if that's just a stroke of bad luck or what it is, but Aaron Gordon, he got going early. He had 21 points in the first half, but he completely cooled off in the second half. Mavs held him to 2 points. He had 2 really, really critical offensive fouls at the end of that game that helped the Mavs seal the win. And then you had Jonathan Isaac, who's looking like a, defensive first-team player, all defensive team. He had 4 steals and 6 blocks. Like, he was everywhere. And,
yeah,
I mean, and look, I said this on Twitter earlier tonight if people were keeping up with it, but as great of a defender as Isaac is, he stripped KP like 5, 6, maybe 7 times throughout the night. And at some point, as good of a defender as Isaac is, you have to think that Porzingis, would start to anticipate that a little bit more. That was a little bit frustrating for me to see. I'm happy with the win. Luka, he was amazing. He had 27, 7 and 7. So he almost had his 3rd straight triple-double. The bench outscored Orlando's bench 49-31. But KP, I mean, I don't know. That's the thing that I'm most disappointed with.
Well, it doesn't seem like his head's always in it necessarily.
Yeah.
He kind of gets lackadaisical or lazy or maybe frustrated, and I kind of get why he's maybe like that, is because his game's not where he wants it to be because he hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, well,
that's fine.
Well, to me, it doesn't even really seem like he's that frustrated. It's just like, it's almost like he's on another planet, like he's trying to go into his own little zone or whatever. And, that's the thing. He tried to do the same thing over and over and over again against Isaac, and it just wasn't working. And, at some point you have to say, okay, this isn't working. I need to try to do something else. But I don't know. I feel like I don't feel like he was getting frustrated. I just feel like he's more stubborn than anything.
Well, however you want to put it, it's fine. I mean, but it's just I guess that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can say it either way. It doesn't matter. He's not totally into the game. He's doing things over and over again, even though they aren't working. He's doing things that he wants to do, but that he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
it's little things like that. Hey, the middle of the floor is wide. Kirk mentioned it in our Twitter conversation earlier. It's like, go to the middle of the floor. It's wide open. Stop trying to hammer it left every single time.
Right.
And it'll come. I'm not worried about it. It's just I'm trying to find. I guess I'm just trying to find the negative things here, because it's a 1-point win against a terrible team. It's not all positive.
Yeah.
And another thing that was really frustrating to me was Seth Curry played 7 minutes, and then he plays 5 minutes in the first quarter, and you bring him and then disappears for the rest of the night when you're frankly not shooting that well. and your best shooter is not on the floor, arguably your best shooter is not on the floor, and then you bring him in the last 2 minutes, and of course he misses 2 free throws because you've been sitting him the whole damn game. It's like sometimes Rick won't get out of his own way either. He was making things more frustrating and more difficult for the team than they needed to be.
Yeah, he definitely has some weird substitution
Jalen Brunson
patterns.
played 6 minutes.
Yeah. Well, because that they couldn't get anything going offensively in the first half, and then they inserted JJ Barea, who, will never die. He is like an Iron Man. He came back from that. It's his first regular season action since that Achilles injury. He played 16 minutes, hit 3 out of 4 threes, put up 11 points and 3 assists. And that was the thing. He was hot, and so obviously Rick chooses to start him for the second half, and that's the thing. Instead of Jalen Brunson, he started Barea for the second half instead of Seth Curry. So really, it was Brunson and Curry that got a little bit of the elbow there, but
this worries me.
I mean,
like.
Here, let me try to cheer you up a little bit as far as the actual win though. It's not like the Magic were 2-4 coming in, or were they 2-3? I don't know. Anyway, they were either 2-4 and 2-5, but it's not like the Magic or the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've got a lot of good players, and they made the playoffs in the East last year. And they played the Raptors well, who were, the eventual NBA champions. So it's not like they were just playing scrubs out there. The Magic, the Mavs should have won a lot more handily than what they did. But, if we were talking about a 1-point win versus Cleveland the other night, I'd be just as down as you are. But I do think we have to give the Magic a little bit of credit for, how awesome they played on the defensive end tonight.
Well, yeah, sure. Making the playoffs in the East isn't exactly a huge accomplishment.
Well, yeah, but like I said, they made it, and then they made the Raptors sweat, by winning that first game, and they played them well throughout. So that's all I'm saying is, it's a step up from like a Cleveland or a team like that.
Yeah, it's the next tier up for sure. But honestly, I was sitting there before the game started thinking, the Magic might not be the best matchup for the Mavericks anyway.
Right.
Because they have so much length and so much strength and athleticism, and Vucevic is just a bull on the interior, and he just pushed KP around all night.
A lot of people wanted him with the Mavs this summer.
He would have been nice. It would have been a hell of a lot better than Dwight Powell's been the last couple of games, which, he's been hurt, whatever, fine. I don't think he should be a starter. But like Jonathan Isaac is just a nightmare for the Mavericks, an absolute nightmare. His whole stat line. You said the stuff about the steals and the blocks, but his whole stat line was phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
13 points, 10 rebounds, 6 blocks, 5 assists, 4 steals, 5 of 8 shooting. Plus 15.
Is he? Is he gonna
sign me up?
What's the chances? Like, how much money would you bet that he gets a quadruple double at some point this year?
I don't know about some point this year, but at some point in his career, I could see it.
Yeah, like
he almost had a 5-5-5-5 line or whatever. Followell was talking about it on the broadcast.
And look, I'm actually surprised they only credited him with 4 steals. It feels like he had at least 6 or 7.
Yeah,
but
it did.
that is just crazy. But going back to the Mavs side of things, and some more positives. Like I said, the bench, they continue to do their thing. Outscored the Magic bench 49-31. Justin Jackson, he had 17 minutes off the bench, 4 of 6 from the field, hit 1 of his 2 threes. Had 6 rebounds. We're going to have to tell Kirk about that because he has been harping on my guy. So he had 11 and 6 off the bench. Maxi Kleba, he was a big spark off the bench. 4 of 6 from the field. Hit 2 of his 3 threes. Perfect from the free throw line. 4 of 4. Ended with 14 points. 3 rebounds and 2 assists. And then you had, like I said, the 11 points from JJ. And Tim Hardaway Jr., Matt, had 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and he was a team high plus 15.
Yeah, and that's the kind of line that makes me think that plus minus doesn't mean anything.
I mean,
because I didn't think he was that good.
I mean, he had a couple of bad shots tonight, but overall, I mean, I thought he played really well, and he had that he drew that charge on Aaron Gordon at the very end that pretty much sealed the game.
I mean, he was fine, but like the plus minus part of it just seems a little bit of an outlier to me. I mean, that just doesn't compute with everything else that happened. Like Luka was only plus 6.
Yeah.
And he was clearly the best player in the game, even though he only hit 1 of 7 from 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, regardless though, it was still a good game for THJ, and I mean, even Dorian Finney-Smith, he only scored 4 points on the night, but he had a huge 3 in the fourth quarter. And it was very similar to when he hit that huge 3 against the Lakers that should have, probably sealed that game. They ended up losing in overtime. But, I mean, he's been really good this season. He doesn't put up a ton of points, but, I mean, it's getting to the point where when he gets the ball late in the game, if he's wide open, I'm not just, like, cringing.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice to see. Another thing that kind of concerned me. I mean, I know you're harping on all the positives, and I'm harping on all the negatives. I mean,
well, we got to balance each other out, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's why this works.
Yeah.
But like DeLon Wright, only 13 minutes, minus 10.
Yeah.
Like it almost seemed like Rick and Boban, who had been great the last couple games, maybe he would have been a good matchup on the interior against Vucevic. Probably not, but you never know. He only played 2 minutes. Like it seemed like Rick kind of went away from a couple of these guys really early and didn't give them another chance.
Yeah.
And that's how things like Seth missing 2 free throws late in the game happen, because he's riding the bench for almost 40 minutes or however long it was, and then you just assume he can just come in and nail a couple free throws without taking any shots or doing anything. I mean, of course that's going to happen.
I mean, I don't know. Even if he had sat the entire game and just came in for those 2 free throws on the end, I would have still put a good bit of money on that he would have at least hit one of those, Matt.
But probably. But he was cold.
But still, I mean, you don't expect a Curry to miss 2 free throws. I mean,
either way, and on a night where you're not shooting well and your best shooter just isn't playing in the game, there better be an explanation for it, because it doesn't make sense to me.
And we're gonna move on to another topic here, but just to end on another positive note, the stuff with Rick figuring out lineups, that's something that has frustrated a lot of Mavs fans over the last 3 years. And again, that they're sitting at 5-2 on the season right now, while he's figuring all that stuff out and doing his little experiments, with the rotations and everything, is a really positive sign, in my opinion. Because, yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, there's been some games that have been too close. There's been some games they should have won that they didn't. But they're 5-2, and they can only get better from here as far as I'm concerned. So we'll take the win. We'll move on to the Knicks game on Friday. We'll do a brief preview of that before we close here tonight. But just moving on to this next topic here, it's going to be strictly about Luka. He's been absolutely amazing so far this season. We talked about it before the season started, and we listed our reasons, or what had to happen for the Mavs to contend for the playoffs this season. And the biggest thing among everything else was Luka taking a big step from year 1 to year 2. And so far, that has happened, because he averaged 21 points last year. He's averaging 27 now. 10 rebounds a game, 9 assists per game. I mean, he's upped his free throw percentage from 71 to 81. That's a pretty big deal. That adds a lot to his points per game average. Overall field goal percentage is up from 42.7 to 46.6. I mean, his numbers are on par with players like LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis. I mean, he's playing at an MVP-type level. And even tonight, when he didn't have his three-point shot going, he was like 1 for 7 from 3. He just kept driving, and he got rewarded with 7 free throws, made 6 of them. He's just got it. It's like he can't be stopped this season, and that's a great sign going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And you might not like my answer completely to this, but he's not as good as he could be. Like he's still tonight he was 1 of 7 from 3. Like that's.
I mean, I agree with
that. There's still things that he can do that to get better, and that's so scary for the rest of the league. Like, right now he's 7th in the league in scoring, 12th in rebounds, 2nd in assists, 8th in PER. Like, that's incredible, but it's not as good as it could be. Like, that's very promising. And you mentioned him driving a lot when his shot wasn't falling, and that's pretty much the complete opposite of what we saw from KP. KP, like we noticed, he kept doing the same things over and over again.
That's
and Luka,
a great
when he
point.
figured out something wasn't working, he changed and he started attacking the basket and he started doing other things. So that's another positive sign from Luka is because there was times last year when he didn't adapt, and this year he's shown the ability to do that, and that's might be the biggest step that he's taken this season outside of maybe his raw shooting overall.
Yeah. And
but,
look,
for the
the 3-point shooting is right there where it was last season. He's right there close to 33%. But like we've talked about before, if he just cut out a couple of the unnecessary step back threes, that would be up above 35% easily. So, I mean, that's something he's still got to work on, but Matt, he's 20 years old, and I think we forget that sometimes. It's just such as a fan, not just of the Mavs, but just as a fan of basketball, it is just such a pleasure to watch him play. Like it gives me joy watching him play the game of basketball. He's just so good, and he knows, like, some of the passes that he delivers to people. Like I literally, my jaw just drops when I see it happen. Like I can't express enough, how happy it makes me to watch him play. But anyway, he's still got another step he can take, only 20 years old. And again, even with him having another gear he can get to, the Mavs are still winning games right now. So, I mean, it's just really, for me, there is a lot more positives than negatives right now, especially as you look forward, to the rest of this season.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot more positives than negatives, but there's also a lot of things this team can get better at, and that they need to figure out quickly because they've been fortunate that they haven't had a difficult schedule so far, and that's not going to be the case the whole year. The second half of the year is going to be brutal, and if they don't get some of these things ironed out and get some lineup consistency, where players are used to playing on the floor together and having consistent responsibilities, and it's going to get really difficult for them.
I don't even think like the lineup consistency is the biggest thing, because I think everybody on that bench and whoever's starting at the 3, whether it's any position, whether it's Finney Smith, DeLon Wright, Seth Curry, whoever starts or whoever comes off the bench, I think those guys stay ready. I think the biggest thing is getting Porzingis going more consistently, because it's like on nights like tonight, with everything that the Magic, everything they were doing defensively, if KP just goes, 6 of I don't know, he was 4 of 14. So let's say he hits 2 or 3 more shots. I don't think that game is, near as close as what it was at the end. I really don't think he's going to go 4 of 14 most nights the rest of this season. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to take him a lot longer to knock off this rust from not playing for 20 months. But I just really think, let's see, we're at game number 7. I really think once we get around that 20-25 game mark, that he's really going to bump it up a notch. And, it's going to be, like a snowball effect going for the rest of the season.
That's fine. I'm not just talking about the bench, though. I'm talking about the starting lineup, too.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, too.
But you can't have Seth Curry playing 7 minutes. You can't have Jalen Brunson playing 6 minutes.
I agree with that.
This team is not going to reach their peak if Rick's going to do things like that. 9 times out of 10, if those two guys play a combined 13 minutes, I guarantee you this team loses. And they probably should have lost this game tonight.
Well, I agree with that.
Because they didn't have the ball last, and they turned the ball over at the end, and they gave Orlando a chance, and a better team would have probably hit that shot and beat them.
But listen.
That's what I'm saying.
Listen, I agree with that. But let me ask you this, and obviously it can't happen every night, but let's just look at it from a one-game perspective. Do the Mavs win this game if Rick Carlisle doesn't put J.J. Barea in the first half? I don't think they do. I mean, he
maybe not.
He provided a legitimate spark.
That doesn't excuse not playing Seth Curry. They play 2 different positions.
Well, I mean, I agree with that too, but I'm just saying we've kind of been riding the whole Barea shouldn't play. He should be a.
I still don't think he should consistently.
I know consistently, but I'm just saying for this, if we go into the next game against New York, and the next game against the Grizzlies, and we're 5 more games into the season, and Seth Curry's still playing 7 minutes, Brunson's playing 5-6 minutes a game, then I think it becomes a bigger issue. But for this game tonight, against a Magic team that's, really good defensively, they were causing a lot of problems in that first half. They needed some kind of spark because they had played the starters, they had played the bench. Neither one of those units was getting it done. And then they put JJ in there, and he miraculously got them going. So I'm not going to complain too much about this game. We'll see where it goes to, in the coming weeks. But I'm okay with it for this one game.
Well, sure. If they want to use JJ every few games, it's just like, okay, things are kind of stuck. We're stuck in a rut. We need some kind of a spark. Let's throw in JJ, see what happens. That's fine.
Yeah.
But he can't have a consistent role coming off the bench playing 15 minutes every game.
Right. Because
it'll be a disaster.
Because let's be honest. As good or as much as Jalen Brunson has improved, as much as we like him, going forward for the Mavs, he's not going to have it every night. And so if you have a guy like J.J. Barea on the bench who, can play like he did tonight, he looked like a completely different player from what he looked like in the preseason. If he can give you something like that every now and then I think it's fine if they play him every, couple of games when they need a spark. We kind of all overreacted at how he played during the preseason because he was just that bad. But yeah, I'm fine with it. We'll see how it goes going forward, and we'll readdress it when we have to. But Matt, we're going to end on this. Obviously the next game is against the Knicks Friday night. It's the first time that the Mavs and Knicks have played since the blockbuster Porzingis trade last season. Like I put on DallasBasketball.com earlier today, talked with Dennis Smith Jr. He's not going to be there, so he's going to miss his Dallas homecoming, but it's still going to be Porzingis's first game against the Knicks since last season. And then next Thursday, they'll go to New York, to Madison Square Garden, and, I'm sure that'll be a very warm welcome for Porzingis from the very rational Knicks fans. So, what are your thoughts on Friday though? The Knicks coming to American Airlines Center, they lost to the Pistons by 20 tonight. I mean, what are you expecting?
Well, I sure hope they can find a way to match up with Alonzo Trier.
Oh man,
I don't know.
This
This is one of those games where if they
look
I can understand not blowing out Orlando.
Before you get into too deep into this thought, I feel like we should explain for people who don't know the Alonzo Trier thing. It's not that he did anything, but there's a certain Yoda analyst. He goes by Yoda, and he said that Alonzo Trier was going to be better than Luka, and he doubled down on it multiple times. So
he doubled down, he tripled down, he quadrupled down. He split his aces, and then split those aces into more aces. It was a month-long thing, probably.
So that's where that comes from. But anyway,
well, what I was gonna say was if not blowing out Orlando is fine, not blowing out most teams on any given NBA night is fine, but the Knicks are horrible.
Right.
So they need to dominate that game. If they don't dominate that game, I really am going to be concerned. If they win 111 to 110 or 112 to 110 or something like that, I'm going to be concerned.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they've got a lot of big guys, but I just don't see anybody that can check Luka. I don't see anybody that can check Luka or KP, to be honest. I mean, they can try
RJ Barrett probably thinks he can. That doesn't mean he can.
I mean, he probably
thinks he can. He's
probably
their best bet.
He's not going to, I don't think.
Maybe one of whichever Morris it is.
The only thing I'm worried about in the game, I think the Mavs will win. I think they'll win handily. But the only thing I'm worried about is, like, I don't know. I just have, like, this feeling that the Knicks signed all these power forwards so they can just, like, keep throwing big bodies at Porzingis and almost like they're putting a hit out on him or something. I know that's
so they signed 5 power forwards to match up against a guy that they're going to play twice in 82 games.
Right, just to get revenge. That's how petty I'm thinking. But that's just
it's
me
definitely not going to be ideal for him.
Yeah, well,
I know that.
That's just me being paranoid, but I do think they'll win handily. I think Luka will be able to pretty much do whatever he wants. KP, I mean, he definitely needs a big bounce back game. I could see him, I could see this being his best game of the season. Obviously, he's got to have a little bit of extra juice for this one, than some of these previous games, you would think.
Well, if he can't get juiced for that one, then he's not going to get juiced. That was one of the messiest divorces I think I've ever seen. And now, KP's with the, I'm not going to use the metaphor because the Me Too movement will come after me, but he's in a much better situation now.
Yeah.
And he definitely won the divorce. And but he still has every right to be pissed and frustrated, and if he can't get juiced for this one, then we have a problem. But I think he will be super juiced, and he might go for 50 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 blocks.
I mean, that would be incredible. And a part of me, a part of me wants him to kind of save it for Madison Square Garden, but I mean, just do it twice if you have to. But I mean, if I had to choose, if it was like, okay, if he had to do that at home versus going back to New York, again, I'm being petty here, but I would want him to do it at New York.
Oh, I would too. That's fair. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I mean, there's something about those type of moments and we talked about this during the summer too, but when players go to Madison Square Garden, star players, and this, they're on the opposing players to the Knicks. There's a lot of special moments there, and that, I don't know, I'll get a better feel for it as we get closer, but I mean, that just feels like it's going to be a special night. And Friday might be a special night too, but I expect the Mavs to win both games, but I mean, we'll see. I just hope that it's not near as close as what this Orlando Magic game was tonight. And I don't think it will be, because they don't have anybody like Jonathan Isaac who can just like go anywhere he wants to on the court defensively.
Yeah, no, they don't. But I'm sorry, this is totally off topic. But
it's late. It's
did
okay.
I hope I'm not the only person that saw this online. Did anybody see what? I mean, I'm just talking to you. Did you see what Eric Bledsoe did tonight?
I did not. What'd he do?
The ref handed him the ball to throw it to throw it in bounds, and he just started dribbling from out of bounds. Everybody who's listening to this, I encourage you to go to Worldwide Wob's Twitter account. He's got a video of it. I hate that guy. I think he's terrible, but this particular video is hilarious. So go check it out.
It's late, so that's fine.
Yes, but anyway, no, the Knicks do not have a Jonathan Isaac. They don't have that athletic kind of a guy outside of R.J. Barrett, and he's not near the athlete that Jonathan Isaac is. But I mean, Jonathan Isaac's a freak.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fine matchup for them. I think they'll be able to shoot it as much as they want. I think they'll be able to move it around as much as they want. They might get beat up a little bit on the boards, but if KP is going to have juice for this game, he's going to have to, that's where he's going to have to show it.
I just saw the Bledsoe video, by the way.
Oh, it's hysterical. It's just like, well, fuck this. I was just going to take it. I hope the ref didn't notice.
That's pretty good. All right. Well, look, guys, we're not going to keep you any longer here. We just wanted to come on and do a quick recap of the Magic game and talk about how great Luka's been, and give a little preview of what's to come Friday when the Knicks play at American Airlines Center against the Mavs. Mavs will try to go 6-2 on the year. And look, if everything goes according to plan, we're going to have a second pod for you this week. We're going to come back on here Friday night, and we're going to recap Mavs Knicks. So that'll be great. Matt, you have any other thoughts before we head out here?
No, that's going to be an interesting pod because we're going to kind of do it on the go.
Right.
Because I'm going to be I didn't go to the American Airlines Center tonight because I had other obligations that kept me past the tip off. So it's going to be on the go, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a new little experiment, and we're going to try. It might be on video, it might not be. We'll see.
Still have some details to iron out.
Check it out. Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, but anyway, guys, be sure to like, rate, and subscribe on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Definitely go to our YouTube channel. I know Matt and Fish have some stuff planned for, in the near future, either before or after games. We're going to have some great content up on our YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe there. It'll automatically enter you for a chance to win 2 tickets to a Mavs game of your choice. The goal is 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to that point, we'll pick a lucky winner. We're about halfway there right now, and obviously the sooner we get to 1K, the more game options our potential winner has to pick which game they want to go to. So be sure to do that. And again, thank y'all for coming in and listening to us late tonight or early morning, whichever it is. We will see you guys Friday night. Y'all have a good one.
A lot of times feel like I was on the road to nowhere. Tell me why all these people up in my face acting like I know them. Feeling like Luka Doncic, rookie of the year, I'm the coldest. God speaking through me every single track, prophet like Moses. Asking why I gotta wait till I'm dead to go and get my roses. Feeling like Mavs 2019, grinding, unfocused. I used to go to bed at night, discouraged, so hopeless. Went through the same pain, my friends chose drugs to cope with. Now I'm reading all these hating comments, man, it got I'm in motion. I had to whip up the potion. I ain't even with the boasting. I was just broken, way down to my lowest. Getting swallowed by them locusts, letting God do the coaching.